What's up, everybody? It's DisThunder from the Fwoosh, and I am very pleased to finally talk to you about Conan the Conqueror from Mezco's 112 Collective line. This is more of a re-release or a victory lap than a new release specifically, so I am going to try to just kind of cover the new stuff and the changes and not get too bogged down in the extra details. If you're wondering about the original base figure, I have reviewed it previously, and you can find that in my YouTube channel as well as on my socials. But if we're just going to consider this a victory lap, man, what a victory lap this figure is. This trip around we get 2 new head sculpts, some new capes, some new belts, some new weapons, and this combined with the upcoming Barbarian accessory kit is enough to outfit many a scantily clad warrior in the near future. So if you're like me and you own 2 of this figure, the original and the current release, I think the goal here is to be able to take parts and mix and match and make your kind of definitive ultimate Conan with whatever you see fit. And if you don't quite have what you need yet for that definitive Conan, I think there is a Conan the Destroyer in the works probably for early next year, so you will not be short on options. Let's go ahead and just get the base comparison out of the way here. Get both these gentlemen side by side so you can see that yes, this is the exact same base body. In fact, the bracer on his left hand and the bracelet on his right hand are still present. They're underneath those new fur forearm gauntlets that I will talk about later. It does seem to me that the new one has a little bit more of a paint wash to it than the previous one, and I'm sure that probably varies from figure to figure. And then other than that, you can see there is a few little paint swaps here and there, mostly gold to silver on like the necklace and on the earrings on the head sculpt. But I bring them in close together here, you can see kind of what I mentioned. It does look like the details are a little bit more sharply picked out on the new one, at least to me. I don't know. Like I said, I'm sure that varies from figure to figure anyway. But if it wasn't already evident by now, if you own just one of these figures, either one, you're still well ahead of the game because this is still one of the best figures in the entire 112 collective. So it wouldn't hurt to bring him in for comparison with one of the other greatest figures in the line, which is the 112 Death Dealer that came out recently. And as you would expect if you've been following along, he shares some parts with Conan. Noticeably not the double elbows, though. I think a lot of people were hoping that Death Dealer's double elbows would make the jump back to Conan. But like I said, we have one more release. We may yet see those. I don't mind the setup of the hinge swivel with the bicep swivel as well. This time it didn't work out quite as perfect as last time. I'll explain that more. But while we talk about that, I'm just going to put the GW Toys custom Superman in the background here with a very quick kit bash Barbarian using my leftover parts to demonstrate what I was saying in the beginning, which is you can outfit a Barbarian really easily with just this set, let alone when we get the Barbarian accessory kit. Now onto that bicep thing. I mentioned I think there was an extra paint wash on this figure over the previous one, and that may have resulted in an old school Toy Biz problem, which is that paint gets inside the joint and sets and kind of locks it, and that seems to have happened on a fair amount of people's bicep swivels. I did a short Instagram reel kind of going over how to fix this problem if you're feeling a little bit brave. Basically, you're going to heat up that whole figure and unsheath the bicep from the shoulder and just remove whatever excess is inside there. No twisting, just pull straight down. But once that's taken care of, you can swivel the bicep independently of the elbow like it's intended, or together. Like I said, it works for sword holding poses in particular, that's the design. Underneath those gauntlets, you have the same ball socket wrist with the same interchangeable hands. You've got a double torso joint, an upper and a lower, that work together to crunch and move forward and back. Decent outward range on his legs, a pretty good forward, and a pretty good double jointed knee bend. There is also a slightly improved ankle pivot swivel on the new boots over the old ones, although it's pretty negligible. And there is likewise very similar range in the head and neck, depending on which head you have on there. Obviously, the longer hair is going to inhibit it somewhat, but you get the idea. If you own the figure, it's the exact same setup as we see previously. So let's go back to some new stuff. This time around, we get an improved dagger with a different handle on it, a huntsman's axe, a falchion, a partisan sword, and 2 flails, one with a posing chain and one with a loose chain. The shield is a repaint of the previous one. I'm now realizing I think it's supposed to be the gold one. This is the silver one that came with the original. Of the new stuff, I really like the detail that's inset that I'm having a hard time focusing on the partisan sword. The flail with opposing chain is really an ingenious idea because it's very difficult to get something like that flail in an action pose without it. And watch yourself, it is surprisingly sharp. And then like I said, this is the wrong shield, but it is the same sculpt as the new one we got, just different colors. One thing I added to the Partisan Sword's sheath is I added a split ring and some extra chain so that I can put it on whichever belt I want. On the soft goods side, we have a new cloak with some fur on top of it, as well as a more like a sheepskin loincloth. It makes for a more cold weather option. And then we have a dark cloak with a hood for a more sneaky option. Of the two, I kind of prefer the fur-lined cloak. It's just more regal, but this little stealth cloak isn't bad either. It's nice to have options. Here's a little closer detail of those fur gauntlets. They are obviously removable. And they really grew on me. I think this is the way I'm going to keep him displayed from here on out. That also goes for the belt options. I prefer this kind of larger one with the 3 discs on the front. But if you're not feeling it, there's also a skull emblazoned one, which is very similar to the Death Dealer belt. I actually thought they were the same. Come to find out, there are a few differences, and it's actually a slightly smaller relief than the Death Dealer one. This one does have the hooks on the back to put a sheath on, which I think they both should have had, to be honest, but I still prefer that feels more heroic, I think, the disc one does to me. Obviously, you can put on whatever you want. Which is what I did, because I took the extra windblown head sculpt and put the helmet on it. It's not a perfect one-to-one swap. I don't know that I recommend it to everybody, but if you really want to try, you could go this route. Likewise, I gave him the original Conan's bandolier. Here's a little closer look at that head with the helmet on it. You can see some of the black marks from the hair. It works. I like it. And this is why I bought the split rings and the extra chain, because I can put his original sheath on the back of this belt, or over his shoulder, or whatever I like. This little finding starter set I got at Walmart, but obviously you can find this stuff at any hobby or craft store. You get a bunch of split rings and some chain and some like earring backs and some clasps and other good stuff. But I absolutely recommend this over those silly little S hooks they include. This works 1,000 times better, and they're still completely removable whenever you want to change it up. So I don't even need to really bother with a recommendation on this guy. It's freaking Conan. It's one of the greatest figures in the entire 1/12 scale from any company across all time. I didn't hesitate to buy this one, and I won't hesitate to buy the third one. But like I said in the beginning, the real allure this time is this is just building blocks to get you to your perfect Conan and some other fun barbarians along the way. So if you somehow missed out on this one, definitely pop over to mezcotoys.com and put your name on that wait list. It certainly couldn't hurt. Keep your eyes peeled for the barbarian accessory kit, which should be shipping soon. I will obviously go over that as well. And lastly, keep an eye out for Conan the Destroyer when his pre-order goes up. I would assume probably sometime in the next 6 months. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on it and we'll let each other know, right? All in all, this is just a fun little universe to play around with. And any more Frazetta or Conan stuff that Mezco wants to do, I'm going to be here for it. And so will you. And if you're not, I'll make more videos and try to convince you. Thank you to Mezco Toys. Thank you to you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.